Welcome to the Empowered Podcast with Deanna Merlino, an all-encompassing personal development show where I will be sharing with you just how to transform yourself into the best version of you, both inside and out. From wellness, entrepreneurship, spirituality, and manifestation, I'll be showing you exactly how to live your best life. I will be keeping it as real and raw as it gets. So get ready to peel back the layers and really transform yourself under the surface. Because nothing is better than finding your purpose and living this life as your true, authentic self. Okay, empowered listeners, by now you have likely heard me talking about my retreat, and maybe it has gotten your wheels turning that you are interested in joining. If it has, I encourage you to take this time for yourself to dive deeper into your spirituality and to continue the journey of nourishing your soul and getting to know its divine calling. Step into the empowered, expressive human that you are meant to be and release what no longer serves you to call in abundance and step into that new version of yourself that you desire to be. Your transformation will begin through daily movement medicine, followed by healing integration sessions, transformational breathwork, tailored meditations, sound healing, Reiki, and so much more. Experience an intentional private nature getaway and enjoy cozy rustic lodging, deep bonding, nourishing meals, and adventure in the beautiful woodsy hills near Ellicottville, New York. If you have been feeling called to take your healing and spirituality deeper, this retreat is for you. You can find more information by visiting the website in my show notes or feel free to DM me on Instagram. Our next retreat is August 26th to 28th, and we truly hope to see you there. Welcome back, my empowered fam. I'm so excited to bring to you this sweet, sweet guest today, a very dear friend of mine and someone that I have been trying to get on the show for a couple weeks now, so super excited. I'm just going to jump in and start telling you guys all about her. So today I have Savannah Fedell, and she is a mindfulness facilitator, intuitive guide, and sound therapy practitioner. She combines science-backed techniques with ancient spiritual wisdom to offer practices that create harmony within. As the owner of her own business, Solstice Meditation, she helps clients one-on-one to move through big life transformations. She also curates and hosts nourishing events like cacao ceremonies, sound baths, Reiki healings, ecstatic dance parties, and guided meditations that shift and uplift you into alignment with your truest self. Savannah's personal mission is to facilitate the activation and alignment of the mind, body, and heart. Her intention is to assist others to awaken their hearts and ignite a deeper appreciation for life itself. Oh, even just, I told Savannah that earlier, just reading that just like raised my vibe. So Savannah, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
I am so excited to just kind of chat with you today. We don't have a real agenda. Just really wanted to have you on. I love everything about you. I love everything about your energy. And I'm actually going to mention this. It's kind of funny. So I mentioned like a episode or two ago that I have this thing with voices. I don't know what it is. And your voice just always is so calming to me. So I just love hearing you talk. So I'm going to really enjoy today's episode, but I would love for you to just kind of introduce yourself, tell me your story, and just share all the things.
Yeah. So basically what started me on this path of spirituality and mindfulness and wanting to really share that was a combination of kind of realizing my own gifts, going through a low or a breakdown to break through, and realizing, in being lost, I could find myself and I could define myself. And that was very scary and very empowering and exciting all at the same time. So pretty much, I would say my first kind of introduction into the other side of life, I realized that I was in tune with things that were very mystical that, you couldn't see or explain, but were very real for me. And part of that's related to me, losing my dad. He passed away in 2007, and we were very, very close, and, definitely had the special kind of connection. He was an amazing person, and he was very spiritual himself, which I kind of came to realize later in my life. But, I did lose him at a young age. And I remember, in our last conversation, our last words, kind of just really laying it all out and just saying, it's okay to leave. It's okay to, to go. We're going to be okay. And I know that you're going to visit me in my dreams. I know we're going to have this connection. I know that you're going to send me messages and signs, and we're going to communicate, even after you're on the other side of life. And that night, he did pass, and he had been, dealing with cancer for a couple of years. So he had accepted it and was ready for it. And we had had time to prepare for it as well. But I went home, that night, and I dozed off, and I had this very short but vivid dream of seeing him in his hospital gown with a priest standing on his right side with his hand on his shoulder. And my dad looked back at me and smiled. And he was walking into the light, he was walking into the beyond. And just like that, I woke up, and I just thought, wow, what was that? That was so that was kind of my first experience. And then just later on in life, navigating, relationships and whatnot, getting to low points and realizing I need to find myself and redefine myself. It brought me to yoga and meditation. And I started realizing that in yoga practices and certain poses, it would open up a lot for me emotionally. For instance, hip opening postures and heart opening postures. I was becoming aware of things in my body that were actually connected to me emotionally. And uncovering that connection was a revelation. And it felt like there's so much here to explore. So I became very fascinated by the traditions of yoga and meditation. And I began having kind of mystical experiences with, a lot of number patterns repeating themselves and people talking about certain things when I had just been researching them or reading about them, and getting connected to people in all different types of ways, things that seemed unexplainable
and not
in my reality.
Random.
Not random. I do not believe in coincidences after the 15 years that I've had, really being open to this. And so, but how to make sense of it, how to really ground it. And so I chose mindfulness as the path because it felt very grounded, but it allowed me to kind of engage in this process called self-inquiry, which is when you just really take time to question everything that is your life, your perception of reality and why you believe what you do, and opening your mind just to different ways of thinking and feeling to create your reality, because I do believe that thoughts create our reality. So, I went through a really interesting cycle of not understanding and not really being able to accept, why I suffered this huge loss in my life, what I did to deserve that, from, just losing my dad and having that be, the biggest pain point for me, into, kind of diving into these ancient traditions and being able to wrap my heart and my head around that and accept that and turn it into a blessing, something that I can say made me stronger, that I learned from and that I grew from. And now I share it with others, from having moved through it myself to then wanting this to be a resource for other people. So just a couple of things that I've navigated and kind of how I got into all of this. Yeah.
I love that so much. And it just aligns with literally right where I'm at in the podcast right now. My episode that just went live today was about making your pain your power and using your story to help others. And I mean, we cross paths at such a perfect time for me, especially as I'm going through the grieving process and refinding myself after just losing my dad less than a year ago as well. And thankfully, I feel like it's all happening really fast for me. Like for you, you've been doing it for quite a while now. For me, I feel like I just jumped right down the rabbit hole and did not slow down. But I that really catapulted it, and just wanting to understand and question and know that there's so much more out there, and that this isn't the end of the journey, and that I too am still getting all these messages and have such a great connection and story with my dad that he's guiding me every step of the way. So I love so much that we have that in common. And we're able to navigate all of this together, as we all are. And I think we've had this conversation before, not exactly on this exact topic, but we go through so much stuff on our own, and we don't have to. Like when we open up about what we're going through, we can realize that we're not alone. When we go through this as a community, as a group, as a opening up and leaning on people, you just feel so much less alone. And that's how it's supposed to be. So I love that for both of us, and just wanting to bring that to this community as well.
Definitely. I'm so, I just love you so much. And I know that we cross paths and we've gone through such similar things, and we're friends for a reason. You know, we came into each other's lives for a reason. I truly believe that. And, having people who understand, you know, the process of grief, it's very, disorienting, because you really don't know what life is anymore without this person. And, you know, navigating grief is its own journey before you can even kind of step into healing and expanding your mind. And, you know, you first kind of got to wrestle and make peace with, you know, this new reality. And so I've had, you know, many mentors, and I, you know, lean more towards seeing things through a spiritual lens. So finding mentors and coaches and therapists that align with my values has been such a key piece of my healing. I don't think I would be who I am today without them. So definitely something to be said in that we can't do it alone, and we're not supposed to. It's just a matter of finding, you know, the right people to help you through that transformation. So I've experienced that and been blessed to experience that and come out on the other side a better person. So I feel that, you know, if I have the chance, I want to help other people in that as well. So, and I see you doing that too. So I think that's why we make such good counterparts.
It's really exciting for me too, because I know we're both on the verge of, I feel like, doing so much with ourselves, but also I've always been able to feel that we're going to do something really awesome together as well. So I'm really excited to see where this nurturing of this relationship and our gifts go. But I would love for you to tell us a little bit about what you do as a profession right now, and how that took you into becoming an entrepreneur as well. Because I know, and you know, things might have changed since I spoke with you last, but last I knew you were kind of not loving where you were at in your job, and it was making you want to, you know, really lean into your entrepreneurial spirit more. So I would kind of love to share that with our listeners.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm still at that job, and I'm still doing like my marketing and urban planning. So I help this company basically launch new projects that enhance communities, and through development, mixed use development. So that is what I went to school for. And I think it's always kind of been my passion to just find what's going to make an environment better, and then pull those pieces together and make it happen. So that's what I'm doing, you know, now currently, but definitely leaning more into the entrepreneurial, just of really leaning into my business full time. And what I do with Solstice is it really started out of a need that I saw for a safe space and a space for people in my area, my community, to come and to feel okay with being vulnerable about what they're going through, and to just experience what it feels like to tap into your own energy in a really safe and just nurturing environment, which is what I make sure to provide and create. And I do that through using, aromatherapy and crystals. And essentially someone would come in and we would just kind of talk about what was going on. They would tell me about how they were feeling and what they were navigating. And from there, I kind of intuitively get a read on people. Like I can sense different parts of their bodies that are like lighting up, or that are like maybe stuck, or that there's stagnant energy like in different areas of the body that are connected to each other. And I can kind of like see that, not with my physical eyes, but with my mind's eye as they're talking. And then I'll have them, get on the massage table, the Reiki table, and place crystals on them and use essential oils to help relax them and bring them through, a guided meditation, a little breathing, and a visualization exercise to just really open them up and relax them. And that's the most important part, is just to be open and relaxed. And then from there, giving Reiki and combining that with sound therapy, with tuning forks, crystal bowls, gongs, chimes, and kind of just doing a deep, intense, session with them. And oftentimes, there's emotional releases, there's revelations, there's new connections that are made, there's a sense of like relief of something, whether that's physical tension in the body or like emotionally. And so we work together in that way, but it really is, I have to say, it takes, a lot of trust really to open up to someone. So I always just do everything in my power to make sure that, my client feels like safe and supported and able to just open up. And you would be so surprised at how much can change in an hour, 15 minutes.
Absolutely.
When you're just willing to go there and just to be held and to just be with yourself and sit with, what's going on. And so that's really where I started, was like the one-on-one sessions, and that's been going great. And I've been doing that since 2020 and getting more into the events and the retreats. And that's what's lighting me up a lot now, because, this aspect of community is so important. And from being isolated, over the past, 2 years, it's like really wanting to step up in terms of, being a leader and being able to host events where everyone can come together, and the different types of connections that are made and the relationships and friendships that are formed from healing in community is so valuable. It's priceless. And so that's really where I see myself going and what's bringing me a ton of joy. And so, that's kind of where I'm headed with all of this, but it's definitely a journey, and I'm learning along the way.
I mean, that's what it's all about, is learning along the way, for sure. And so Savannah and her partner, Josh, who I would like to have on as well, they put on retreats in Vermont, right, Sav? Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. And that's actually how I came across both of them. But I reached out because Savannah, I literally felt your energy through the website. Like, I'm like, okay, these are the people that I want to do it with. And we did the retreat, my last retreat that I had, you were a facilitator there, and meeting you was like, we've known each other for a lifetime. Like, just meeting you, I was just like, I've known her forever. And that is just the energy and the gifts that you have. And I'm saying this because it is so important when you're working with any sort of healer, when you're opening yourself up to that energy and being able to be held in a safe space and being able to find that trust to let go. You want to be very careful with who who you're, doing this work with. So if you are someone who's in the area, I highly, highly, highly recommend going to see Savannah, because I can totally firsthand tell you how much of a safe space that it's going to be. Just you as like a human, everything about you, that is just what you exude. So I'm grateful to know you. But on that note, as we talk about retreats, so you were a facilitator at the last one, and I brought you back again. We're going to have you at this next one. But I would love to talk about cacao ceremonies, as that's, I feel like, a large passion of yours and what you brought to the last retreat. And I don't think that everyone knows what it is. It was my first experience with them, and it was such an incredible, just something to experience. So I'd love if you'd share about what that is, and just so everyone knows that that is something that you offer as well.
Yeah. I find that something that's grounding, is plants. And that's kind of what led me to cacao is, I want to be able to use for myself in my own healing and to share with others things that are grounding. And I find that that really, really helps in being able to open and awaken the heart. And that is exactly what cacao is. It is the purest form of chocolate is the cacao plant, and it grows in South America, primarily in a few other like tropical places around the world. But basically a cacao ceremony is having, ceremonial grade cacao, the most pure form of cacao, raw. It's a kind of like a bean that's inside of a fruit that is fermented and then ground into a paste and then pressed into like a brick. And it is mixed with, water and a few other spices. And essentially, the intention is to come together as a group or to have your own practice with yourself. But it's centered around gratitude and connecting with yourself to give thanks, to the earth, to yourself, to life, and to celebrate that. And that's the medicine of cacao, is realizing that everything is a celebration and life is the ceremony, And so I source cacao from a beautiful community in Guatemala, and it is a like family community run kind of operation where they just harvest it. It grows everywhere, and they package it and send it to us. And so we're getting fair trade Guatemalan cacao prepared by local people, families who sing and pray over it. And that's the experience that I want to share and emanate with people around cacao is, coming together, sitting in a cacao ceremony, which means you're usually sitting in a circle and you're either singing or dancing or doing some kind of movement that just opens up this really beautiful energy of connection and joy and, gratitude. And then kind of sitting in like a meditation after with your cup of cacao and tuning into how it feels. And it's an experiential thing. So not just feeling the cup, not feeling the warm cup and smelling the smells and feeling the steam, but like really feeling how it subtly kind of interacts and opens up. And it's known as like a heart medicine. So it's used in a lot of rituals by like ancient cultures. It dates back, like it's been used for thousands of years to celebrate and to honor, rites of passage and marriages and parties and funerals. And so using it kind of like in a day-to-day way to just tune into your heart, get grounded and connected with the earth. I found it just like so amazing and so healing. And, to be honest with you, when I had my first cacao ceremony, what came up for me was like a lot of judgment. And I actually realized I was holding a lot of judgment, for myself and for others. I was like very concerned about like, if other people were looking at me. I'm sitting in a circle with all these strangers, what do they think of me? Like, what do I do? Is this weird? But it was very healing. Like, that was what I needed to see and what I needed to experience in order to create more space, in my own heart. I needed to see that judgment that was kind of like lodged in there.
Yeah.
So it's a really beautiful medicine to use if you are engaged in this process of self-inquiry, of self-development, of wanting to be more grounded and purposeful in your life and to connect with others. It's just amazing in so many ways. So I'm so honored to share that. And I do consider that medicine. So that's basically what a cacao ceremony is and how you might feel from it. It's very energizing, and I don't know, what was your experience with it? I'm so interested to hear.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because I kept coming up that you need to share what happened with you. I am I wouldn't say a closed off person, but I'm very guarded. My walls are up a lot, even, in places that it shouldn't be. And that's what I realized in that ceremony. And it was really interesting because before you even said it started happening for me. I don't know if it was like my intuition kind of just kicking in already, but I remember when I drank it and I was just calming down and taking it all in and really feeling everything. I instantly, as we started the meditation, before you even told us to, I went to the place in my mind that I always go when I'm like getting into that space. And it's this private tropical island. And I feel like it's in Costa Rica. I don't really know. I've never been to Costa Rica, but I always just go to this private strip of island. But the strangest thing happened is for the first time ever, I wasn't there by myself. My husband was there with me and he was Christopher was running around and he was holding a young child, which I only have one child. So I don't even, we don't know what that means. I don't want another one. So we'll see what happens. But it was very interesting for me because I knew in that moment, like, I don't know if you remember, but I started bawling. I just knew I needed to let him in. And he is so important to me. He is my world. He is my biggest supporter. He is, my lover, my everything, my protector. And I realized that even though I have no fear or nothing there's nothing that should be separating us, I realized I had up these walls and I was, blocking him out from this beautiful life that we're living. And I didn't even realize that I was doing it. And it was definitely like a beautiful yet painful moment because I realized that, I'm blocking him out. And that was, but I became aware in that moment. And I've noticed so many shifts that I've made sense. So it was a very powerful ceremony. It was a very healing ceremony. And just like you said, it brought up the thing in my heart that I needed to see. And so it's so amazing that you get to share that with others. And I was just so grateful to be a part of it. And I didn't know what to expect. I'd never done it before. But yeah, it was very powerful for me. And I'm still so grateful for that moment. And anytime I feel myself wanting to like put my walls up again, my brain goes right back to that space. So it's become like almost like a built-in permanent reminder for me.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it is. It's such a beautiful heart medicine, and it helps us kind of figure out where connections could be stronger. And it just goes in and does that, but sitting intentionally with it and going into like a meditative like space. These are practices that we all can be doing and we all could benefit from. So I really am like so happy that you had a good experience with it. And yeah, I can't wait to share more at the next retreat.
Yeah, speaking of, I'm so excited to have you back. That's only, 2 weeks away? Yeah, that's just a couple weeks away. I'm so excited. we are going to shift gears a little bit there and have you do a different kind of ceremony. We're going to do a fire ceremony this time. Being that it's running at the new moon, I feel like it's the perfect time to just cleanse ourselves from any negativity that we're holding on to, our old selves, anything that's holding us back, and we'll be able to kind of start fresh. So I'm really excited for what you're going to bring to that. And you're doing a couple other things as well. But on that note, I would love for you to share maybe even if there's anything else that came up for you at the last retreat, some experiences that you had, or even just why you would recommend for somebody to come to that retreat if they haven't signed up for it as yet.
Well, first of all, I just have to say, like, you and Brittany together as a pair are like such a dynamic duo, and you just made it all so seamless, so beautiful. It was like no detail was overlooked. Everything was quality. And I just had such an amazing time. So thank you so much for having me. I mean, the land itself where you have this retreat is insane. It's like, it's like you're stepping out of real life and into like a fairyland. It's amazing. And it's such a good place for people to get away out of that hustle and bustle and into this place where it's like, slow down, tune in. You have everything you need. It's beautiful. So I'm so excited to be back there. And yeah, my experience at the last retreat was like, oh my gosh, it's just so beautiful to witness people come together from all walks of life, from different places in life, different ages, you know, just different backgrounds. And we all connect because we all are kind of aware that we're all connected. And on some level, it's like we're a group, we're a family, you know, and I think anything that can do that is beautiful and needed. And I've made so many amazing relationships and friendships with people who I don't think I ever would have met, including one of your former podcast guests, Kaylee, who I didn't even know she was going to be there, but I had like stalked her on Instagram once before. And then when I got there and realized she was there, I was like, oh my gosh, like she's here. I have to get to know her. So,
wow, I love that.
Yeah. So like that came out of that, and you just never know. It's like, so being in a place with like-minded people, number one, we all need that. And then I think the other thing that I really loved was the ability to sit around like a fire or to sit around in a circle with strangers and to be seen and heard, and to also take turns, you know, really listening is very powerful, is very healing. And it's really the next level, I think, of, you know, how we should all be treating each other in relationships. And so I think that that's really powerful as well. And why I want to, and why I'm excited to come back to this retreat is that I just feel like the location, the land, combined with like the energy of everyone that is making it happen, facilitators and people attending, and the kind of person that's going to come to this retreat, it's just going to be so transformational. Like I almost want to say it has the power to, like, for me, it took me from one person, like who I thought I was, and instead of going like in a line from A to B, I felt like I like jumped. I like felt like I was stepping into roles and being, you know, holding space for people in ways that's really the embodiment of who I choose to be in this life. And everyone has the opportunity to choose that and step into that for themselves, whatever that means for them. And going to retreats is such an amazing opportunity to do that, honestly, because you get to get out of whatever it is you do from the day-to-day normal life, you know, like your job, your work, your family, your normal ways of thinking. Like you just get to get out of that for a little bit. And sometimes you just need that space to realize, to really nurture like that little spark or that little something that will bring you into where you want to be, in alignment really with your truest self. So that's why I'm so happy to be a part of this.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I had cold chills the entire time. It's just such a beautiful experience, and I'm grateful to be a part of it with you and to just see all of the changes taking place. And I think something that I keep feeling like saying is the one thing with the retreat that I don't think I've talked about enough is that being in that group with such like-minded people was an experience unlike anything I've ever had, in the sense of I never once felt judged. I felt the ability to just be my true self and not fear judgment. And it's so nice if you're someone who, maybe on the verge of wanting to try something new or opening up to this, line of work or opening up to these things, but being afraid to tell a friend or your family, or you're worried to share it on social media, which is where I was at and I'm no longer at because of this experience. But you get to pull yourself out of that fear of shame and judgment and be surrounded by a loving, safe group and such high energy that really does just like kind of catapult you into this new version. So I think that was so spot on. I loved that. Gonna start to wrap up here unless there's anything else you can think of, but there is one thing that I wanted to ask you. So I don't know a ton about the whole 8/8 portal that's going on right now. For anyone listening, this is August 8th, but I do know that the energies have been super heavy, for me at least. Like I've been so tired, I've been sluggish, like it's just been a lot on my body. And one thing that I did even before this show is I went outside, got some sun, grounded myself a little bit. And when I think of you, you are the most grounded human being ever. Like that's what I think of for you. So this is super random, but I would love some tips maybe that you have for someone who is looking to ground themselves and kind of just realign and just kind of get back on track.
Thank you for saying that. I don't always think of myself as the most grounded person, but I appreciate that. And so tips for getting grounded, again, I'm going to go back to, I think it starts with how you see things. So my number one tip for getting grounded and kind of recentering yourself is, can you start to appreciate and notice the beauty in things? Can you stop and admire a flower or a tree, or can you just look up at the sky for a minute and just kind of appreciate the clouds that are passing by, and or seeing, someone on the street and giving them a smile, and, that's beautiful. Can you slow down to just start noticing the beauty that's around you is number one. Number two would be to get into your body. So whether that's doing some deep breathing, putting your hand on your belly and doing some deep breathing, or taking your shoes off and getting on the ground, or doing yoga, dancing, doing anything to get into your body and bring yourself into your senses is immediately grounding. You can smell essential oils. You can light sage and smell that. You can take a cold shower. You can, the possibilities are endless, but get into your body in some way. And then I think, my third tip would be to, and this is a practice that I do all the time, is to look in the mirror and look yourself in the eye. And I know this might sound a little strange, but it works. Look at yourself in the mirror, into your eyes, and simply tell yourself, that you love yourself. Even if maybe you're not feeling that way at that moment, just start to tell yourself that you love yourself, and say your name and say that, I love you. And it's really an experience, and it might feel weird, but if you do it for a couple minutes, that energy builds on itself and it kind of brings you back into center, in your own experience. That's a couple of mine. I don't know how weird we want to get. I could get a little more out there, but I think I'll end there. Maybe the furthest out I'll say is to do like some screaming. Like screaming is amazing. I love like going in my car and just like screaming it out when I really need to, because it's like you can get so in your head and so tense and stressed, and sometimes you just have to let it out. So
I've never felt better than when I just get out a good scream. So yeah, big time. All of that, just like anger and aggression and frustration and just stagnant negative energy, let her rip. Let her rip. I love that.
I love that. Yeah.
I'm so glad that I asked you that, because those were fantastic. And I think that just in the climate of the world, for sure, but just where I'm at with this, this energy coming in, is that I've just been really needing to ground. So I wanted to share that with everyone. Sav, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so grateful for you as a guest, as a coach, as a healer, as a facilitator, as a friend, as a soul sister, as an everything. I have so much love for you. I'm just so grateful for you. So thank you for coming on today. I love you so much.
And thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that I got the chance to. Is there anything else you would like to share?
I think I feel complete, but I will say the last thing, I don't know if you can see behind me, but I have like some tarot card little tapestries, and that's one tool that I like to use to get intuitive guidance from. And so I did pull a card, before the episode from my angel deck, and I pulled the 6 of Cups, which is support. So the keyword is support, reflection, karma, and memories. And it talks about the 6 of Cups being, a person that you feel you've known all your life and maybe in previous lifetimes. And I just can't help but feel like it has something to do with you, Deanna.
I'm literally laughing because how could it not? Like, I'm not joking. When I met you, it was like, it was a reunion. It wasn't a meeting you for the first time. It was a coming home feeling. So I love that even more so that you got that right before coming on.
It was so cool. I can't wait to see you again and be at the retreat together too. It's just going to be amazing.
It really will. So thank you, Sav. I love you so much. I hope you have a fantastic evening, and I can't wait to see you soon. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. If you want to find out more, you can follow me on Instagram at Empowered with Deanna and my personal page, Fit Deanna Lolita. You can also visit me on my website, which is DeannaMerlinoFit.com. Make sure that whatever platform you guys are listening on, please rate and subscribe. And this means so much to me. It's going to help get me out there to help so many other people. I'm so grateful that you're here with me on this journey of wellness and self-empowerment. I cannot promise that it will always be easy, but I do know that it will always be worth it. Stick with me, and together, let's start living as the version of us that we were meant to be. Because the world is waiting for your gifts, and you deserve to live the life of your wildest dreams and beyond. So friends, let's get empowered.